You know it's bad when reports about 4 alien species comes out into the open and nobody gives a shit. Hey everybody, I'm Mystic Brew, founder of Return to Self, where I help you remember who you were before the world taught you who to be. And this is Hot Girl Math, where we do spicy, energetic equations and put together cosmic clues from the universe to see what the fuck is actually going on. And today's episode is going to be quite a doozy. You may want to grab a snack, you may want to grab a beverage, and you may want to hold on because shit's about to get really weird. You may or may not have heard that the US has recovered 4 distinct species of extraterrestrial life from crashed UFOs, according to a former CIA-funded government researcher who made these claims openly this month. Dr. Howell said people who have been involved in recoveries have said there are at least 4 types. Now, I have not had direct access to that, but I believe the people who I talked to. 4 separate types of life. Now, the 4 most reported alien species and beings that are being noted in this article from the New York Post, by the way, which is sourcing Steve Bartlett's podcast episode, are the mantis, the Greys, the Reptilians, and the Nordics. These might be names that you are familiar with, that you've heard of. Welcome to Conspiracy Corner. We're going to dive into it. The article goes into talking about how Dr. Howell's colleague, Dr. Eric Davis, claimed last year that Greys, Nordics, insectoids, and reptilians are the names of the biological life forms pulled from the wreckage of downed or crashed UFOs. Each alien species has 2 arms and legs and a humanoid appearance, Davis claimed, citing intelligence reports. Both the reptilians and the Nordics are human-sized, roughly 6 feet tall, Davis said, and the Greys are said to be up to 5 feet tall and the mantis up to 7 feet tall. Reptilians can also get up to 8 feet tall and Nordics can be pretty tall as well. Allegedly. Former Air Force intelligence officer and UAP task force member David Grush testified under oath in Congress in 2023 that the U.S. was in possession of non-human biologics recovered from dozens of crashed UFOs. Those claims were based on testimony from members of the supposed crash retrieval program, which was detailed in Farah's film Age of Disclosure, which premiered in March. I've talked off the record with some people who are involved in recoveries, Farah told Bartlett on the podcast, adding they would not go on camera to do interviews. Well, of course they're not going to go on camera and do interviews because the second you start talking about stuff like this, people assume you're crazy, you've lost it, you're on the deep end. Well, welcome to the deep end, folks, because I am also there. Now, let me tell you, personally, this is no surprise. This is like old news. Hello. And there's much more than 4 species, if you ask me. The concept or idea that people have to truly assume that we are the only living intelligence in this entire creation of whatever it is that we are even in, which we don't even fully know, just feels like, really? But it aligns. I mean, it makes sense. The math is mathing there because we are quite the egoic species. So to assume that we are the only living intelligence in all of creation, that aligns, that makes sense. But it's also very, I want to say daft. I've never used that word. Is it right? Daft. Okay, well, that's an Ireland property website if anyone's looking for property in Ireland. Silly, foolish. See, how did I know that? I don't know. I heard daft. It is very daft. Now, what might be even more alarming than the fact that there are allegedly 4 alien species that have now been open to the public is the fact that nobody cares. Nobody cares. Oh, there are aliens? Great. Where are they at? Are they going to come and help? Otherwise, we don't have the time. We don't care. And that really speaks to what we are collectively experiencing right now. I also feel like AI plays a role in this because, as you may have also experienced and witnessed over the last few years, as AI rises, it becomes increasingly more difficult to discern between what is actually true and what is manipulated and doctored. And that feels like by design. And it makes sense, again, hot girl math, it makes sense that that would be a thing, especially if all of this disclosure is now happening, especially when things are being exposed that truly sound crazy, like that is insane. How can that be true? It's easy to now be like, well, that's just AI. That's AI. That's AI. That's not real. That's AI. Your line between truth and fiction, between reality and illusion, is so faint right now that can be really scary. That's why we keep telling you strengthening your intuition and sharpening your discernment is so important, because your best barometer of being able to discern between what is truth and what is not is going to be your internal guidance system. It's not anything outside of you. That's what you keep being shown. That's what I kept sharing with you when we did our time traveling. Every year, we were seeing examples of people in power, of systems and structures and organizations and things that were meant to be for the people, lying to the people, manipulating the people, betraying the people. There was a lot of deception. We lived in an illusion. Now, when the illusion crumbles, which is already happening because the veil is thinning, it's going to be really rocky territory, because like I've mentioned in previous episodes, what you consider to be the truth may have been built on a lie. And now you have to ask yourself, am I willing to accept the truth now that it is being shown to me? Or would I rather continue to live in the illusion and hold on to whatever constructed narrative was fed to me, because I have learned how to live with this? The bypassing, the dissociation, the neglect of the information that is being presented to you. It's everybody's choice. That's why when you hear people talk about, oh, they're awake, they're asleep, they're awake, the matrix, red pill, blue pill, which we got to talk about red and blue, these two colors together, because red and blue is what you think black and white is, but it's not. And then that goes into some racial dialogue, which I'll get there on another episode because that's a whole other thing. But we are being shown the very palpable, visceral split between consciousness and what happens when you are, again, experiencing the opposites. Now, what many of us are here to do is hold the tension between the opposites. I've talked about that quite a bit. That is what helps bring balance. It is the energy of finding a little bit of this and a little bit of that and merging it together to see what happens when it comes into perfect harmony. Do you see what I say? So some of us have been ping-ponging between these two different energies, taking a bit of this, taking a bit of that, and almost like a stirring spoon, melting it all together to create this third energy, which is what these two combined in perfect harmony would look like. So yeah, you're probably experiencing extremes. I don't know why I just went off on this tangent, but someone needed to hear it. Either way, now we're talking about aliens. And listen, if you are a Pluto in Scorpio person, my generation, they have been dripping this into our psyche and membrane since birth. Like, hello E.T., hello Matilda, hello Men in Black, hello Independence Day, hello Alien versus Predator, like Star Trek, Star Wars. We have been told about what could be happening beyond this world. But it's easy because, again, it's art. It's easy to dismiss it as the imagination, but then where does that come from? Anyone who knows Neville Goddard, the imagination is God. And if God can conceive and create anything that it can conceive, Who's to say? This is also why when people start getting all like huffy puffy about, well, you don't have proof and where's the evidence and that's not true and that can't be, you don't know that. Like, you don't know that. And I'm sorry, I'm a mystic, not a scientist. Science looks for the evidence to prove the theory. Mystics have the end of the equation and then usually get pieces of what comes before that that leads back to it. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, boom, drop information. I don't fucking know where this came from. And I don't know that it's true. I don't know where this is coming from, how to prove it. There is no proof. The proof is the download. The source is source. But of course we don't talk about shit that we get, because then it's like, well, where's your proof? The proof will come later. I'm at the end of the equation. I'm at the solution. I am at what happens after the equal sign. What this is that constructs this, it can be anything. So when it comes to UFOs and aliens, I think a lot of us, myself included, are very like, okay, great, that's cute. Literally not the priority right now. We have files of people in power eating and abusing children. Like, are y'all the aliens that you try to make us believe the aliens are? Do you know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, make them believe that these people are bad and scary and we got to avert them. We got to do this. And it's like, actually, the threat is right here. It's next to you. And they may all be here next to you. Something that I also notice with myself is when I meet people, this is going to sound really strange, but hello, like everything I'm saying is strange. I can immediately sort of pinpoint the lineage, for a lack of a better term, that they may come from in a supernatural sense. It's like I'll meet people and I'm like, oh, vampire, werewolf, fae, elf, Lyra, the lions, felines, there's a witch. Like there's just an energy, and many people have multiple, that is so easy to pick up on. There are worlds beyond this one. There are dimensions beyond this one, 12 to be exact. And we'll talk about that in another episode as well. There is a lot of energy that is not perceivable to the naked eye that is happening. And I know this for a fact because I've experienced it. I know shit like this exists because I have experienced it. The things that I have seen, the things that I have gone through that made me question my reality and if I was fucking crazy and losing it. The fact that I am here just another day. What mousse do I want to use in my hair? Like, considering what I've seen, I don't even understand it. And I'll tell you a specific story related to this. Was it an alien? That's my best guess because it wasn't a human being and I saw it. It must have been 2014-ish. I was falling asleep. I was in my room in my old apartment and knocking out. There were no substances involved. I wasn't doing any of that at that time. And I was just like going to bed like a regular schmegular night. And then something happened that I had experienced a few times before, but I did not know the language. I did not know what was happening. And I just would tell myself, well, maybe that was a dream because what the fuck else am I going to do with this information? As I was sleeping, I suddenly became able to perceive myself from two different points simultaneously. I was both able to see from my eyes in my body and also from the corner of the room. And during that specific night, I had an out-of-body experience. I had the simultaneous viewpoints. And what did I see? A creature standing right next to my bed, up to the ceiling, wearing all black, couldn't see what they were looking like, what was going on underneath, and just hovering over me, watching me sleep. I was terrified. When I tell you, I somehow, some way woke myself up, got back into my body, and would not go to sleep until the sun came up. I was in my bed paralyzed with fear because I didn't know what the fuck I just experienced. What was that? And how often does that happen? That's the other thing about this that I think is what actually frightens people. It's the fact that if this has always been happening, so then what's actually going on? What is happening that you cannot see? We do not like to wonder about things like this because it creates a lot of fear, because if you cannot see it, then you're vulnerable. But again, there's a lot of other things that go into your energetic protection, your aura, your trust, your faith, your surrender into knowing that you are protected regardless of what you can see and what you cannot see. In the same way, when we talk about normal human behavior, you think there aren't people smiling in your face and talking shit behind your back? You think there aren't people being mischievous or doing some shady shit? It's happened to you. It's happened to all of us. And what ends up happening? Either you find out about it, shit gets blown up, the truth gets exposed, they get some fucking karma. That's the proof that you need, that you don't always have to see and know immediately everything that's going on. It's not fucking possible. Now, hot girl math, it's not possible in every area of your life, whether it's shady people in your life, whether it's people's intentions, whether it's your government's intentions, whether it's this world that we're living in, whether it is the spiritual element of all that exists and what it is that's happening in this room right now that I can't see, but there's always energy. And I've always been very sensitive to that. That was something I had ever since I was a child. It was one of those things where every day I'm sitting down at the desk doing whatever, and one of these, what is around me? Because it's easy to feel. Feeling is one of my, surprise, one of my strongest skills. The amount of things, the shifts that I can feel that can be a whisper. It's so subtle. That's how sensitive I am. It becomes scary when you don't know. And I am someone who always wanted to know, because not knowing meant danger. That's what I learned. If you don't know what's going on, something shitty's going on. So you got to always know what's going on. Guess what I learned? I'm going to save you the trouble. You can't you can't always know what's going on. You're not meant to. Like I always say in these videos, and I don't say anything here to be cheeky and cute, this constant collaboration, I mean it, which means if you keep trying to take over the group project and do everything on your own, you're going to get burnt out, you're going to get stressed, and you're not going to do as well as you think you would, because that's not how this works. There is a constant collaboration, which means there needs to be space for communication, which means you need to learn how to be okay with not filling in the blanks when you don't have accurate information to put there, which means you need to be open to receiving the information and guidance that is always being given to you. That's part of the reason I'm doing this series, to show you, to give you evidence of how the universe is always talking to you. But so many of us don't listen, or we throw it away, or we say, what a coincidence, how funny, and then we move on. And it's like, no, babe, I need you to lock in and pay attention. This is how you become aligned. This is how you learn how to read nature. Something else that came up earlier today, and I'm going to share it here in case whoever's meant to hear it is meant to hear it here. You need to get out of your routine. Again, last week we talked a lot about structure and order and chaos, and you need a little bit of chaos, but not like your toxic ex chaos. I'm talking spontaneity. Do something different. Break out of your usual routine, because when you get into a routine that's too deep, now you're cycling, now you're looping, and now you're predictable, which means it's easy for the system to read you and then become the thing that predicts your next move. So it's not actually your next move. It was subconsciously programmed, and that's why you had your next move, because it already knows what your next move is. That's patterning. That's what we talk about with the shadow. That's why the shadow's always on autopilot. You are not meant to live in autopilot. Routines can be helpful. Again, everything in moderation, harmony, balance. Routines are helpful with certain parts of your life, but there is another element that needs that chaos, which is the shadow, which is, I'm going to just go do this. I'm going to change that. I'm going to try this today. I'm going to take this class today. I'm going to go on that date. I'm going to talk to this person. That moment where you are so present and just moving with the flow of life, that's when you get the most guidance and information, because you are open to what you can receive. When you are stuck in a fixated pattern of thinking, of feeling, of speaking, of doing, of being, there's not a lot of room for anything to come into your space to start shaking things up a little bit so that you can see and receive what you need to see and receive, so that you can get the blessings that you needed to get, so that you can meet the person you needed to meet, so that you can get the inspiration that you needed in order to create the thing that will become the thing that you always needed. You don't know. That's the thing about our society. We need to remember to be comfortable with not knowing. And it's timely that I'm talking about this right now because the Sagittarius full moon is coming up. And I know that because I was prepping my shadow work through tarot and poetry workshop notes, which, by the way, if you're local to Burbank in California, I host monthly workshops on the full moon based on the shadow of whatever sign it's in. So for this workshop, we're focusing on the Sagittarius full moon. And so the shadow of Sagittarius, which part of that is strict doctrine, dogma, a manufactured sense of certainty because we want that safety. And we see it not just in religious pursuits, it's in the spiritual community as well. I talk about this in the piece. I had to come face to face with the fact that I was mirroring the religious strict doctrine I grew up with and that I experienced with my family with a spiritual spin. Looking for the signs, looking for the validation, looking for everything to tell me whether I was going the right way, doing the right thing, making the right choice. It's the same as someone who is always seeking externally to know that they're good, that they're right, that they're safe, instead of going within, which is where the real guidance comes from. Now, again, clearly I still do this stuff because I think it serves a purpose, but the purpose it serves can also become your detriment if you're not careful. So yes, astrology is great, but I tell you all the time, I'm not the biggest fan of predictive astrology because the truth is you have infinite possibilities of what you align with. The astrology is simply giving you the what I always tell people when I do readings with them, it's like the manufactured settings, like straight out the box, this is probably what will happen, but you always have the choice. That's where that chaos and spontaneity comes in. If you always know it's this way, but guess what? You're going that way and you're like, you know what? I don't really fucking like it here. I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel good. And you get that internal tug, that ping, that alarm that goes off that's saying, hey, why don't you go that way? Why don't you go that way? What is over there? But again, we stay in the groove, and a lot of times unconsciously, because it's a groove, because we've gone this way so much that we don't have to think about it. And we like to not think. We like to just do whatever. But sometimes the best way to not think and do whatever is to break out of the autopilot cycle routine that you think is you just doing whatever, but it's you doing what you've always done. And ask yourself, what do I actually want to do today? What has been coming up for me so much that I have yet to take action on? Who keeps popping to mind that maybe I need to reach out to? Who, like, what, where? Just ask yourself the freaking question and then do something about it. That's the collaboration. You're getting the insight, you're getting the guidance, you keep getting the pings. And for some of you who know this, it will only get louder and louder the more you don't listen. Good or bad. Like when I kept getting guidance to quit my last corporate job, I was terrified. Are you kidding me? Triple Earth sign quitting their job that gave them stability? To do what? To freelance? I'm sorry. That sounds psychotic. Why would I do that? I didn't listen. Boom. Surgery. Boom. Another surgery. Boom, my health starts declining. Boom, there's drama in the workplace that I get wrangled up in that I literally had nothing to do with, that I was laughing in HR's office, talking to them about, is this a fucking joke? Is this serious? It kept just hitting me that you need to leave. Your body's shutting down. You're not happy. You're not eating. You're not healthy. Your mind is a mile a minute. Your nervous system is shot to hell. For what? And you already know this isn't the work that you're meant to be doing. You thought, because again, for me personally, I wanted to have the full plan of my life by the time I turned 18. And I created it. I thought, I was like, okay, this is going to happen here. This is going to happen then. But at this age, I'll do this. And then this. And then great, we're done. We're done. Life plan is done. I'll just follow the direction to do all of this. And I don't have to worry about anything. Nothing happened aside from getting that job. I always wanted to work at this company. I got it right out of graduation in college. I worked there for nearly 10 years. And as I was working there, I'm like, oh, this is not it for me. I always tell people when I talk about this story, I, as I mentioned last week, I always correlate things to dating. That experience was like finally getting to date the person that I had the biggest crush on for so long, and was just like, they're kind of out of my league. Like, it's just a crush. It's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden they're like, hey, and you're like, hi, you see me, you notice me, and now they want to hang out with you, and boom, now you're dating. And you're like, how the fuck did I even get here? How am I dating this person now? I thought this was a fantasy. I didn't even think this could happen. And then now you're in a relationship, and guess what? It fucking sucks. You created an idea of what this would be like based on how you perceive the person and what being connected and attached to that would be. Then you get into it and you learn the truth. And it had its perks, I don't regret it at all, but it also showed me like there is more to fulfillment than what at the time, what I placed as the ultimate sort of success. Yes, I experienced stability financially, materially, but internally on a soul level, emotional level, mental level, I was breaking down and I had to make a decision. And so I left. And freelancing is like an initiation. If you know, that shit will bring up your shadow so quick, because now you have no one to rely on but yourself and your ability to show up for yourself. And it shows you your self-worth wounds, your imposter syndrome, your insecurities, your perception of yourself and your place in the world, which is aligned with your stability and security in the world, because they're directly correlated. Again, not sure why we went on that tangent. Today feels just like I came to talk about aliens. But I don't say anything by accident. So for whoever is still with me here on this conversation that has 20,000 side quests, I told you to buckle up. I told you to grab a snack, because we were going for a ride, and here we are. The last thing I will note back to the UFOs is the Pentagon dumped 162 classified files on a new website on Friday. I mean, for you, it wasn't Friday. Either way, recently, ending decades of speculation with raw data you can analyze yourself. And this is from Yahoo News. This isn't your typical government document dump. It's the first coordinated attempt to let citizens see what agencies actually know about unidentified phenomena. And this is something that astrologers have been saying is happening soon because of Pluto in Aquarius, because of the age of Aquarius happening, whether we're moving into it or preparing for it. Everyone has their own idea about when that age actually begins. It's like, get ready to get weird. Let your freak flag fly. Let yourself be open about the fact that this is more than what you may think it is, because it is beyond your ability to comprehend on a logical, rational level. The materials document everything from 1947 flying disc reports to recent military encounters in Iraq and Syria. The coordination required reviewing tens of millions of records, many existing only on paper, like digitizing your grandparents' photo albums, but with national security implications. Now, again, who knows what the fuck is actually going on? Maybe all of it, maybe none of it, may all just be a coup. That's another word I never use. How do you spell that? Because I know it's not. Oh, isn't it C-O-U-P? Like a coup d'etat or something like that. Oh, a takeover. Interesting, a takeover. And as I was thinking about that word, the thoughts that came up were that what we are experiencing, like, listen, again, we're already in it, so let's just go all the way. I would not be surprised if there was a galactic war happening right now and it is being mirrored with the wars that we are experiencing here. There is some other shit going on that is beyond this realm, this dimension. And I've been feeling this for years. I don't know what we're fighting for. I'm guessing like there's a level of domination that feels relevant. Power, domination, control. Per usual. Also, I mean, colonization is a huge theme, so there might be that as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we start colonizing space. We already have been. Anyway, all that to say, we don't know anything about what's really going on, and it might be a lot more than you can anticipate. What's most important with all of this strange, bizarre news and headlines is to remember that just because you don't know doesn't mean you're in danger, because you didn't know the whole time and here you are. The awareness is just the awareness, and that can raise a lot of questions. But you also have always been in that environment, in that space. It's just now it's coming up to the surface. Now you're becoming aware of it. Now you're learning about it. Now it is no longer something that you can be blissfully ignorant about. And if nothing else, you're always safe talking about weird shit here because, like I said, I have stories. And we'll get into it on this podcast. But either way, there is no judgment or shame when it comes to experiencing life in the ways that you do. We are all uniquely designed, and we live in this highly intelligent design that we have barely scraped the surface of. So of course, we may experience some things that leave us having more questions than answers. And that's okay, because what did I say? It's return to self. Remembering who you were before the world taught you who to be, which means allowing yourself to expand beyond the stories that you have clung to, that you believe are the truth about you, yourself, and this world. I'll see you next week.